Luuk has been out for a while, so today I wanted to evaluate whether my pre-release pros and cons were accurate or not. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So one of the first things that I said about him is that he would easily become the new best Spectro DPS in the game. Absolutely, he blows all previous Spectro DPSs out of the water. Even if you fully invested into Zani, even if you have one of Phoebe's best in slot teams, Luuk Herssen is going to be better. So if you're looking for the new strongest Spectro DPS, then this character is going to be right up your alley, because he is really strong in general, but also currently holds the mantle of best Spectro DPS in the game. So if you're looking for that, then you're going to get that with Luuk Herssen, and I doubt that he's going to be replaced anytime soon. Another thing that I mentioned is that he was going to be really budget friendly. This 1,000,000% ended up being the case. Not every Wuthering Waves DPS has the luxury of being able to skip their signature weapon and not really lose much from it. Luuk is a rare case of a character that's still going to feel really strong and efficient even if you don't have a signature weapon. This is because the brand new standard gauntlets that were added with 3.0 are really good for him. They have crit, they have decent base attack, and the passive is perfectly tailored to Luuk's kit. So all around, it ends up being an excellent alternative option for him. Generally speaking, the thing that happens with most Wuthering Waves DPSs is that yes, their signature weapon is absolutely broken, but there just doesn't tend to be another option that can fulfill what their kit wants as much as the signature weapon can, and this is really evident with certain characters. But with Luuk, he is able to get plenty of the things he likes having from the standard gauntlets, so you don't have to pull for a signature weapon. Now, is it going to be a good increase, and is it going to provide you with Luuk's best possible performance? Absolutely. I do not want to undersell a signature weapon because it is still very good, and it is still worth getting if you're somebody that wants to see him perform at his absolute best. But to say that it's a necessity would be far from the truth. You can easily save yourself 60 to 70 limited pulls and just go on and save it for somebody else, because Luuk honestly doesn't need it that much. And if you would rather save those pulls for a character that's going to end up needing it more, that is a perfectly viable and valid thing to do, because Luuk doesn't require it. And this makes him a really budget-friendly DPS option. Not to mention that he's able to use Sanhua as well. Yes, using Linny with her Toonstrain Resonance mode is going to be a lot better than using Sanhua, but the point stands that it's something that you're able to do. Not only does this mean that if you're using Linny somewhere else, you can just use Sanhua instead, and that is going to work perfectly fine, but it also means that in DPM, you can give your Linny to a character that needs it more, and then just use Sanhua for Luuk instead. And because Mornier is a universal third slot teammate, she is able to be used twice in DPM. So all around, he ends up being really nice when it comes to budgeting out your teammates and vigor management as well. So all around, he ends up being a ridiculously budget-friendly DPS. And if you're just starting the game out, or you don't have a lot of pulls on hand, but you want to get a new DPS, then Luuk is honestly an excellent choice. Now, once again, I will say, Linny is definitely better than Sanhua, but she is still good for him because he primarily deals basic attack damage. It is the main focus of his kit. The main thing that's really important to do if you're using Sanhua is that you dash cancel his Golden Impales, which is the basic attack he does after his special skill every time. In simple terms, after you use Luuk's spinny skill, dash towards the enemy when you do your next basic attack. That is going to save you enough time for Sanhua's buff to apply to his whole rotation. But in any case, she's gonna be a great option for him, and he all around ends up being a really free-to-play friendly option. Another thing that I mentioned is that he's going to be cheaper than Zani. Absolutely! Not only is he cheaper than Zani, but he is better than Zani as well. So if you're looking for a great Spectre DPS that is accessible, then once again, you would rather go for Luuk. Now, I will say, if you've already fully invested into a Zani team, you don't need to go for him, because she still holds up and she is still a strong character. But if you don't have Zani and you're looking for a new Spectre DPS, then Luuk is going to be both an upgrade and a character that is generally cheaper. Another thing that I should mention is that Linny and Mornier are both characters that most people should be going for if they care about the meta, and they are very good for free-to-play accounts. So most free-to-plays that do care about pull value are going to have at least Linny or Mornier. Obviously, lost 50/50s exist, so there is going to be such a thing as people who don't have both, but most people should at least have one if they were around for 3.0 and did care about meta. So his best in slot team consists of characters that are generally very high value at the minute. Whereas with Zani, if you choose to invest into her, you basically have to get Phoebe And there was a time where that was a really high value pull, but nowadays, she isn't really as strong. She's still good, but she is by no means a must pull DPS. You just get far better bang for your astrites by going for Luuk and following Luuk's investment path. Another thing that I mentioned is that he has no best in slot support yet. You may be thinking, of course he does. There is a resonance mode on Linny that gets her to be better for Toon Strain, and that basically fulfills his best in slot support. I would actually argue otherwise, because the main thing that Linny doesn't provide for him is basic attack damage bonus on outro. She only provides liberation percent. Now, Luuk can't really use this, so I personally think that at some stage, Luuk is eventually going to get a dedicated second slot teammate. Now, this could end up never happening. It wouldn't really be unrealistic for Kuro to just leave him as is, because Linny is still perfectly strong. He is still a really good DPS as is right now. And he doesn't necessarily need a new buffer, so to be honest, they could just leave him as is, and I'm gonna say now, don't pull him because you think he might get better in the future. Just wait and see if that's something that you're curious about, because if that does happen, Kuro is probably just gonna rerun him during the time that he is relevant anyway, and you should only pull a character if you're satisfied with what they're able to do on release. So I'll just make that very clear now. But there is the avenue for this already really strong character that is already an excellent deal for basically any Wuthering Waves account to get even stronger. And considering that he uses so many good teammates that are generally strong on any type of account, it's super easy to invest into him and then eventually pick up his best in slot support down the line if he ever does end up getting one. Though, once again, he might just not get one. Only invest into him if you're happy with what he can do now. I'm just pointing out that the opportunity for him to get something better does very much exist. Another thing that I mentioned is that he has aerial-based combat, and this is going to make him really comfortable when it comes to fighting different types of bosses, because no matter how much they move around, he is going to be able to match that level of movement, and then deliver annoyance right back to the enemies. And I'll say this right now, absolutely, it is great how mobile he is, and if you're worried about him perhaps being clunky or not being able to reach enemies, that normal attack he does after using his spinny skill teleports him to where the enemy is. And if you try to dash cancel it and you end up going off enemy target, just try and dash in the enemy's direction, that is gonna sort it out for you. So him being such a mobile DPS is honestly excellent, and while his gameplay does take some getting used to, because he's the first main DPS we've had that uses jumping as a main primary attacking input, once you get used to it, his gameplay is very smooth, and you're going to find that he's able to keep up with enemy movement very easily. As for his flaws, one of the things that I mentioned is that he would take Aemeath's best in slot team. Once again, in DPM, this just doesn't matter. You can give Linny to your Aemeath, she is gonna be fine with Shorekeeper, but once again, Mornier has 2 charges, so that's just not gonna matter. You can use Mornier anyway, and then you can give Sanhua to Luuk, and that's going to work out perfectly for you. And if you have Lupa, even better, just run a triple fusion team with your Aemeath, and then you can give the Toon Break supports to Luuk. Once again, problem is pretty much solved, and consider that down the line we're eventually going to get a Fusion Burst team for Aemeath, because currently her Fusion Burst mode is just really incomplete and we don't have the teammate that's going to make it flourish yet. So there's going to be methods in which you're going to be able to split up supports between them quite nicely, and this basically is just a non-issue for anybody that has Lupa. Otherwise, I would recommend give Luuk, Mornier, Sanhua, and TOA, and then give Linny, Shorekeeper to your Aemeath. This will solve the problem if you do not have Lupa. So it's honestly not the biggest problem in the world, because there should be enough teammates to go around, since these 2 characters do have different units that are able to cater to their specific kits. And I do think that down the line, once we get Aemeath's Fusion Burst mode, this is going to become even more of a non-issue. And one other thing I should point out, if Luuk does ever end up getting some kind of support that is dedicated to him, then once again, it's going to become even less of an issue. Another thing that I pointed out is that he would be a weaker Toon Break DPS than Aemeath, who came out literally right before him. Gonna be honest, I think he can definitely do enough to justify his existence on an account that has Aemeath. He's Spectro, so he's going to cover all of your Spectro-related needs. He can use Sanhua, and also, Aemeath is able to be played in other types of teams, such as Lupa teams, and I believe that down the line she's eventually going to get her Fusion Burst team. He's also just super budget friendly, so you hardly have to invest into him if you want him to just perform in general. So all around, while he is a weaker Toon Break DPS, I think he does enough to separate himself from Aemeath, and he also specifically focuses on Toon's Strain. I think that as we get more teammates as time goes on, the separation is going to become more clear between them, and they're definitely going to be able to stand on their own more, but I think as it is, you don't really have to feel bad about pulling for Luuk if you already have Aemeath. I do think they have their own respective use cases. And there is the potential for this to get more comfortable down the line. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Where do I currently think that Luuk stands in the meta? Well, right now, I think he is literally the best Spectro DPS that you can possibly go for. He is incredible in that role. He is a really good DPS in general. He has a fantastic investment for literally every Wuthering Waves account. You don't need a signature weapon. You can use a free 4-star with him. And basically the main thing I would say you would really want for your Luuk to perform is just have Mornier. Otherwise, he is a really strong and competent character. Also, his sequences are very powerful, and an S2 R1 Luuk is really, really good. So all around, no matter what, this character is worth your time. Whether you're a free-to-play, whether you're somebody that's looking to go for sequences, or if you're just somebody that thinks he's cool, he is a really, really good character, and I'm super happy to see a male character get this type of love from Kuro Games. It's unfortunate that he came out right after Aemeath, because I do believe that her release definitely does overshadow Luuk's release, but even with that in mind, I still think that Luuk is an excellent character. Kuro did not deliberately make his kit weaker or anything like that. He has a really good deal for a lot of people, and I think his main flaw at the minute is mostly just his Whimpering Wastes clears. He's not really a good character to get if you're struggling with wuwa. There are much better options for that. But for any boss-related content like TOA or DPM, he is absolutely excellent, and I cannot recommend him enough. Really, really good character. Hopefully this video was able to tell you my more fleshed out opinions on Luuk now that we've had him out for a while. This has been Juice, signing out, and I could not be happier that this character was done justice.